Okay, so we're going to talk about simplifying radicals. And we're just today going to talk about variables. So, what is the square root of x squared? What does that equal? Just x. It's kind of like the definition of a square root in a way. Think about that. So, what if I have more than just squared? What if my degree is higher than 2? What if I have the square root of x to the third? Can I simplify that?
Yeah, because part of it is still x to the square.
Yeah. So if I think of the factors of x to the third, it's like x squared and x. Right? X to the third means x squared times x. Exactly. So now, I'm going to really break this down step by step. I have the square root of x squared times the square root of x using my multiplication rule for square roots, which is the same as the multiplication rule for exponents. Breaking that down, the square root of x squared is x. And the square root of x, I can't do anything. But the key with the problems that you'll have on your homework, you will never have any exponent higher than 1 in a square root once you're done. So even if you start with the square root of 10, not 10, sorry, square root of x to the 10, right? This is the square root of x to the 5th, and I'm going to kind of use the exponent rule here. Give myself a little bit more space. Squared. 5 times 2 equals 10. So you remember this rule with exponents? If you have like an exponent, a power to another power, that just equals, you multiply those two exponents. You get it? So I'm just reversing this rule that we've practiced. 10 is 5 times 2. And now, if I think about this, I'm going to say, I'm just going to do this for a second. Y equals x to the 5th. Okay, just as a way of thinking about this. So what I really have here is the square root of y squared, which is just y. Right, because x to the 5th squared, that's y squared. And so this is just x to the 5th. So there's one way of thinking about it. This is just a way of thinking about it. But if you look at this, you can kind of notice a pattern, right? 5 times 2 is 10. And my final answer is just x to the 5th. So a much simpler way of thinking about this, I think, is we just take x to the 10, and we take half of 10, remembering that the square root is the half power. So half of 10, right, is 5. So I'm going to say 10 over 2 x to the 5th. But what happens when you have an odd number? If you have an odd number, you just have to remember this rule. So if I had x to the 43rd under my square root, I'm just going to break that up into an even number, x to the 40, keep doing that, x to the 42nd times one more square root of x. So 43 is 42 plus 1. And then I'm just going to use that half power rule. X to the 42nd square rooted is x to the 21. So there's a lot of ways of getting at the same answer. But what we're really getting at here, the square root is the 1/2 power, right? And so if I have a 10 to the 1/2, that's just a 5. If I have 42 to the 1/2, that's just a 21. And if you have an odd number, just break it up into an even number and then one more.